Hello and welcome to Eye on Africa here on France 24. I'm Thomas Waterhouse. These are the headlines. Anger at the Gnassingbé family's 5-decade rule in Togo spills onto the streets once again. Thousands of opposition supporters stage a rally in the capital, calling for their longtime president to quit office. There are teething troubles for West Africa's anti-terrorism troops. The G5 Sahel force come up against logistical problems in their first mission to stamp out jihadist insurgents. And dancing their way from the streets to stardom, we take you to meet the Ugandan ghetto kids who have all the right moves. 50 years of bloody dictatorship must come to an end. That was one of the many slogans splashed on banners in Togo this Tuesday. Thousands of protesters have turned out, calling for their longtime leader, Gnassingbé, to stand down. On the eve of that march, the government announced it was taking all the necessary steps to open dialogue with the opposition. Clément Bonnereau has more.
A deepening political crisis in Togo as thousands take to the streets of Lomé. Protesters are calling on President Gnassingbé to step down after 50 years of rule by his family.
We are open to dialogue. This is what we've always been saying. But let's not kid ourselves. We're not in favor of discussions to maintain the status quo.
In Togo's second-largest city, Sokodé, protests turned violent when the army used tear gas and batons to disperse crowds. Here, too, opposition leaders say they want real change in the country.
We want for Gnassingbé to leave, and we want our country to be firmly rooted in democratic values and the rule of law.
Anti-government protests began in August and have now spread to the whole country. The opposition is calling for a 2-term limit for presidents, a measure that would apply to President Gnassingbé, who's been in power since 2005. Faced with an unprecedented wave of protests, the government has taken steps to diffuse tensions in recent days. It's lifted a ban on opposition rallies and called for calm and dialogue. On Tuesday, it released 42 protesters who'd been detained since September.
But Togo wasn't the only African country to see protests this Tuesday. Hundreds of journalists and media professionals have been out in force in Guinea's capital, Conakry. Dubbed the March of Anger, protesters were denouncing the violence inflicted on some of their colleagues last week by police, as well as what they deemed to be an attempt to silence the private press. Let's listen now to what one journalist taking part in those protests has had to say.
We are in a country in which the body that is supposed to protect the press, that is supposed to guarantee the independence of the press, and above all to guarantee that we aren't influenced by the government and political parties, is now putting itself in a position to gag us and to silence us without any respect for the law.
Moving on, Nigeria will spend more money on infrastructure, health, housing and employment next year. That's what President Buhari told Parliament this Tuesday as he unveiled a record €20.8 billion budget for 2018. Buhari told lawmakers that his government was increasing spending by 16% compared to this year in a bid to consolidate the achievements of previous budgets and facilitate the country's economic recovery. Now, it's not been in operation for a full week yet, but it's already come up against logistical problems. Under the umbrella title of G5 Sahel, the new force pools the military resources of 5 desert countries in a bid to stamp out jihadist militants. They're supported by the French army, and the Defence Ministry here in Paris has released these first pictures of those joint operations. Officials say lots of lessons have been learnt from their maiden mission, but their early teething problems, can be overcome. Rochelle Harrison-Pless and Anthony Fouchat report.
These soldiers are on a reconnaissance mission, carrying out their first operation as part of the G5 Sahel in central Mali. This new anti-jihadist coalition brings together forces from Mali, Niger, Mauritania, Burkina Faso and Chad. bolstered by the support of thousands of French troops enlisted in Operation Barkhane. It's a crucial alliance.
The aim of the operation is to accompany our partner forces in a relatively fragile and risky zone where various armed militant groups pass through. Our objective is to block their freedom of movement.
The Sahel region in the Sahara Desert is a crossroads for extremist fighters. The G5 Sahel has gone to the heart of this terrorism hotbed, establishing its military headquarters in Sévaré.
In reality, one of the problems we have isn't just logistical. It's about the perfect integration of all different forces here, working together as we go along, so that we act quickly and efficiently.
There are other challenges. The G5 Sahel mission is suffering from a lack of funding and a lack of manpower. Despite this, 5,000 troops are said to be mobilized before next March, racking up a bill of some €423 million in the first year. A hefty sum that's forced France to appeal to the United Nations for a funding boost.
To a controversy now over the cost of road building in Tanzania. The president there has shown two senior officials the door after they failed to remember how much they have to spend in their respective districts on public highway construction. The pair was sacked just hours after they were summoned to this public gathering for the launch of a new airport in the town of Bukoba. Live on TV, President John Magufuli scolded the officials for their poor memories. Some sports news now, and Kenya's first female Olympic marathon gold medalist has been handed a 4-year ban. The country's anti-doping agency says Jemima Sumgong failed an out-of-competition drug test back in April, testing positive for the banned blood booster known as EPO. The 32-year-old's claim that she failed that test after undergoing treatment for an ectopic pregnancy was rejected. The runner has confessed to her, quote, unfortunate offence and unintended mistake. And finally, they have over 82,000 friends on Facebook, and their videos are watched 32,000 times every day. Triplets Ghetto Kids are a group of 9 former street children from Uganda who shot to stardom after featuring on a platinum-selling track by the Moroccan-American rapper French Montana. Haxi Myers Belkin has more now on their award-winning moves.
When French Montana's people called, Triplets Ghetto Kids got straight to work.
They gave me the song, and then they told me to create the moves. I always do with the kids. So we sat down, we listened to it, and we started creating some moves. And that's how we came up. And then within 3 days, French Montana was in Uganda. So that's how we came to meet him.
Based in Kampala, Triplets Ghetto Kids is a dance troupe made up of former street children. They appeared in a local artist's music video in 2014, and their impressive moves soon earned them a loyal YouTube following. Moroccan-American rapper French Montana liked what he saw and enlisted them as dancers for his platinum hit, Unforgettable. Triplets Ghetto Kids knew something big was happening when they were invited to perform alongside the star at this year's Black Entertainment TV Awards in LA.
I felt so good because, first of all, we were the first African dancers to perform on that stage, yeah? You know, so I felt so good.
I kneeled on my knees and I prayed to God, and I told him, thank you, God. Because some time back, some few years ago, I was looking at those stages and on TV. I used to admire them, but God made it possible.
They may be revered for their moves, but the dance troupe's founder says the goal was never to be famous. It was about teaching the kids to aim high in all things.
These kids are really now growing up, and each and every kid has his own ambition. They have what they want to be in the future. So we are trying out to see if some, maybe, for example, Patricia wants to be a lawyer. How can we help her to achieve that?
Dance has offered Triplets Ghetto Kids a way out of poverty and into the international spotlight, but also into the classroom. These kids certainly don't do things by halves.
You are unforgettable. I need to
Well, that brings this latest summary of African news to an end. Do stay with us here on France 24. Mark Owen has more world news and headlines after this very quick break.